free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatterspodcast1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Hush now, city kids, gather round for other myths. Hush now, city kids.
When it came to me after so long, I didn't have no choices in the streets where I was from. When I think about the pain, I didn't have no choices, I took what I had sworn.
Hush now, city kids, gather round for other myths. Hush now, city kids.
But you know, the wouldn't let you have it any other way.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters. It is the Fans Forum, and it's good evening to George, to Jeff, to Barry, to Alan, to Pablo, Magnus, Kevin, Martin, Darren, and to you at home. And we are looking back at 3 points in the bag. Newcastle United 3, Ipswich 0. Not the shellacking, George, that we were potentially predicting, but a win's a win in these circumstances. That's another cup final negotiated, another 3 points in the bag, and another step towards Champions League football at St James's Park next season.
Yeah, not the shellacking that people like me thought it would be, but on another day it could easily have been. The big thing for me is that we negotiated a difficult game. Ipswich didn't make the mistake that Palace made. Palace didn't press us, and my honest opinion was they committed suicide because they didn't. They just let us have home free. Ipswich didn't just press us; they pressed over the top at times. I mean, there was some quite awful things happening off the ball as well as on the ball at times. And there's another bit of the game that I'll come to towards the end of what I've got to say. It was a very professional job, in my opinion, against difficult opponents that weren't going to lie down and take anything that we give them. They're going to have a go all across the field, and made us work for it. And it wasn't a bad exercise, actually, because we're going to come across teams that are going to get 10 men behind the ball and make life difficult. So if we can get 3-0 against teams like that, then we're not going to go far wrong. Highlights for me, Tonali again was my man of the match. Once Trippier had the freedom of the right side, of course, he played a real stormer, I thought, after that. Him and Murphy between them just tore that right side up, and some of the interplay between the two of them and Bruno and young Miley when he came on was absolutely superb. It was to see that football was worth the entrance money, to be perfectly honest. And the number of balls that went zinging across the opposition penalty area that just needed a touch to end up in the back of the net. So there were lots of good things, and good to see Dan Burn get another goal. And of course, the best of all for me was to see young Will Asula get a goal and come on and what a header it was, a real bullet header. I've got to say, I've joined in some of the criticism of the fact that he hasn't been getting minutes on the pitch earlier, but I'm also reminded that the things I was saying, like one or two others on here, about how Lewis Hall didn't used to get on, and what we thought, what the hell's Howe doing, keeping him off the pitch when he should be on. Well, what happened is fairly clear now. We've got one of the best left backs in the Premier League. If that's the surprise that's coming next year or sometime soon with Willis Sula, I'll wait for it, because he does excite me. He's got the pace. He's got the physicality, and he's got a dance. And of course, like another famous centre forward we had, he's hardly played many minutes for the team, and he's already got a bloody song. I mean, it can't go much better than that. So yeah, there was lots of good things. I don't want to hog it, but what I do want to say is that, without doubt, is the worst referee I've seen in a generation. I can't remember seeing a referee so totally inept. And along with his assistants as well. I don't know why they're there now. There was things happening off the ball, like the melee in the middle of the field, where Willock was just poleaxed, is the only way to describe it. And he did eventually get a buzz from VAR to have a look at it. And what did they do? They did no cards, just a warning. Warning for that, dear me. It was a red card all day, but never mind. And then there was other things happening all the time. The kerfuffle between Byrne and the centre forward, which went on and on and on. It was inevitable what was going to happen. Both were going to get booked, but it was just all over the pitch. There was things happening, and the referee just lost complete control, and it just tragic. And then some of the lads were saying before, I was. The notion now is with players, and I have to include our own, is that if they get touched, they go down like a bag of hammers. And again, we were a goalkeeper who was doing the lying on the ball thing every time he got the ball to waste time. I reckon he's wasted about 25 minutes of football with all the lying on the ball that he was doing. But also, going back to the lines, the assistants, there was 6 times in each half he stepped more than a yard out of the penalty area to take his goal kick out of his hand. And each one of them's, handball, and off you go, Bonnie lad. He had 6 times in each half. He got away with it, and nobody's seen a thing. But I don't want to. But it just saddens me that that's the way football goes. What I will say is, though, that it's encouraged by some of the so-called professionals who are now pundits, who make excuses, which is ridiculous, including Alan Shearer, for some of the things that happen on the field, and they shouldn't be happening. But as long as the professional referee organisations running things the way they are, it won't change. But an important thing, professional job against a difficult opponent who wasn't going to lie down, and we got the job done, and that's the most important thing, and sets up for the rest of the season, to be perfectly honest. So I enjoyed the win. It was good. Oh, the last thing, on the way out, I go around the top of the lasers and happened to go around just as the Ipswich fans were coming down, to be greeted by about 3,000 of our fans singing "Only One Bobby Robson," and it was amazing to see the reaction of the Ipswich fans, how touched they were and how grateful they were, and that really set a good vibe for everybody. I must say, after I stood for a little bit with John Allen watching them, it brought a lump to my throat to watch the two sets of fans interacting like that without any rancor, any bitterness at all. And bearing in mind we just dumped them in the championship again. So yeah, great day. Important victory though. Set well off for the rest of the season.
Okay, George, thanks very much. Jeff, how did you see the game at the weekend?
Well, I'm with you. Not the ref was terrible. I think they've been told to let the game flow, right? which it did, and I don't think that was a penalty. To be honest, I wasn't. And if it's meant to be clear and obvious, and if it takes VAR ages to decide, and forget it. It's getting out of hand. It should be for clear and obvious mistakes. I was generally disappointed by some of the set pieces again. We've got the tallest man in the football universe stood at the back post, and we're knocking the ball around in circles. There's dozens of people in the box. Drop the ball on his head. It's a simple game. And they did that in the end, and he got a nice header. Towards the end, it was keep ball, as you say, it was keep ball in their box. It was it was like some sort of strange training exercise as we pinged it around their box. Gordon went off injured, I believe, which is a bit of a shame. I hear he's got a bit of a problem. He seems to be modelling his hair on Alan at the moment as well, which is nice. And as for Paul Willock, he got kicked off the pitch. That's really disgraceful. That really, it looked like, it's all right. They said to me, right, we're going to kick him off the pitch. As I know somebody wouldn't have stood for it, but unfortunately he's injured. And of course, Tunali, my man of the match, because he's everywhere. I can almost pick him before the game. The man is extraordinary. What an engine. He sort of zooms around like he's on casters. He's just everywhere. And that's what I'd like to say, apart from the fact that I think Isaac's getting a bit of a hard time for not scoring. Some of those balls that were played into him were behind him, and we sort of expect him to hook it from behind him into the goal. No, it's quite difficult. And to head it from when it's sort of behind him. So I'd say we need a slightly better supply. It's a little bit random, some of the stuff coming in from either wing. But otherwise, yeah, fantastic. And let's move on and move on up the league.
Yep. Congratulations to you, Jeff, as well, for finally managing to get onto Facebook. You're now a proud member of the NUFC Matters Facebook group. Where
a robot has finally become human. So
it was like Mission Impossible. It was like Mission Impossible, but you got there in the end. Barry, thoughts on the game at the weekend?
I mean, it was what we wanted. We wanted the 3 points. It was a good overall team performance. I do think we seem to struggle, especially early on in the first half, to get going. I disagree with Jeff slightly. Obviously, we were talking a little bit before, and it's been mentioned in the chat. I don't think Isaac's fit. No. I think he's getting played because we've got bugger all else. And Howe doesn't trust Wilson, and I don't think he's prepared to give the young'un a full game. I think Isaac could do with missing a game and getting himself right, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. He's just not. He hasn't got that sharpness that he normally has. I know Jeff's right in a way that some of the balls across to him weren't top quality. There was a couple that went missing, but he doesn't look right, Steve. He doesn't look 100%, but that seems to be our way forward this season. We did it with Joe Linton, where Joe Linton was obviously injured. He was carrying an injury. We kept playing him, and now we're doing it with him. We did it with Botman last season, and he ended up getting even further injured than he was. It's a little bit worrying. I mean, it was a good performance. I think Ipswich just once they got into the second half, their energy went. They didn't give up, but you could see they'd accepted the inevitable, I suppose. And we, like the guys have said, we're all over them. Sort of the last 20, 25 minutes, we were just ploughing into them. I thought Barnes played really well again. I thought Murphy was okay. I've seen him play better. He did have a couple of decent crosses and stuff, but he has played better. Wilson, when he came on, I think somebody's just said in the chat as well, it just shows Wilson. I don't even know why he bothers playing him. He's a waste of a substitute, to be honest, the way Wilson's playing at the minute. So might as well stick Ruddy up front and have him playing as a substitute. He'd get more involved than Wilson is. I think he's gone. And what can you say about the young'un? Usula, whichever way you want to pronounce it. What a goal. What a header. Just absolute class. And his reaction to it. I mean, that's my only worry, that he does get this moment of madness, I suppose, at times where he just goes off on one. He reminds us a little bit of Gaza, when Gaza used to lose the plot and just go. But just, I'm getting into the camp. I was in the camp where I thought he's not going to make it. He's not going to be the player that we want him to be. But just for him alone, for his attitude, his personality, I want him to succeed. I want him to do it because he just comes across as such a nice kid. You really want him to do it, and I'm hoping he does. But yeah, a good game all round. But I think we're going to face tougher obstacles before the end of the season when we still need to book our ideas up a bit because that wasn't. I disagree with Jeff in another respect. I don't think Tonali had the best of games. I don't think Bruno was particularly great. I think they were missing the big guy alongside him because, like the guys have said, Willock got 7 shades of a proverbial kicked out of him. So I think we could have done with Joe Linton playing. But yeah, 3 points in the bag. We'll move on to the next one.
Okay, Barry, good stuff. Alan.
Well, I feel a little bit of a fraud actually because I've only seen the highlights of the game. So I bow to everybody's wisdom that saw most of the game than me. I hate these games, Steve, because of the fact everybody thinks we're going to win 4-5, 6-0. So to win 3-0, I'm over the moon about that. I'm in total agreement with Barry about Isaac. I don't think he's training. If you remember with Wilson a couple of years ago, he came back from a latest injury and he loses that sharpness. He snatches at chances like he did against Crystal Palace in the first half. I think that shows you the sign that you're not 100% because you ain't training that much. You're trying to get through the training and you're not 100%. So when it comes to match sharpness, I know myself in a race, if you haven't raced for a long time, you just lose that 10% and you're just not quick on the go. So I agree totally with Barry on that. Great 3 points. Happy for Sula scoring the goal. And there's going to have to be a big decision in the summer, Steve. Does he stay at the club and progress, or does he get put out on loan, or even sold, Steve? There's a lot of decisions. I would say another fact, that was our first double over Ipswich since 1973-74 season. So there's another little record gone, like Man U's doing the double over them. Basically, great 3 points. Happy that we're in it. But if you look at it now, lads, you couldn't have picked 4 tougher teams to play in the running. If you look at our history, Brighton's our bogey team. Chelsea's beaten we more than any other team in our history. In their history, should I say. Arsenal, we haven't won very much down there until this season. And Everton are very tough enough to crack. So bigger challenges ahead, lads. The running starts now and hopefully we'll finish in the top 5. I'm more confident we will. But I like Pavlo how he say because, like I say, I only saw the highlights, but great 3 points.
Okay, good stuff. Darren, we'll come to you. We'll get you in the order that you appeared in on the screen. So, Darren, over to you, mate. You've obviously got Georgie's pint of Coke.
Yes, he's seniors. He's pointing to the bar, so I had to go to the bar and get his pint of Coke. So what I've said before this programme, I might have to go and get a bottle of Coke. I'm going to match on Sunday, Steve. So I might have to get a bottle of Coke and drop him on his front door and then go to the match.
Good idea, because it's clearly having an effect.
Well, everybody's buying a bottle of half a Coke now. So I think it's
having an effect on my bladder.
I never thought I'd see George Mitchell coked up his nut in the Irish club, but it's happened. I was a bit bored in the first half, Steve. First 20 minutes was sloppy, passing the ball across the box, some daft mistakes. I'm convinced Bruno's goal should have stood. Well, keeper went down like a sack of shit.
Yeah.
There was never a free kick. Foul on the keeper, so I was baffled by that. And I don't think Murphy was a penalty. I'm sorry. Why he touched his arm, not his legs. Do you know what I mean? He went down like Bambi, Murphy. So, but we got the penalty. It was just how long it took to give the penalty. Once he had a man centre, we scored the goal. It was game, set, match. The second half, we had best part of possession. We could have won more, but good to see Dan Burn. I was buzzing for the Sula because he's got a great song. So good 3 points, and like you say, I think Bruno had a bad game again. Tonali was man of the match, but I would say like Tonali stood out. I thought the first half was bored, but we were all bored. First half was very slow. Second half was stepping up. He still will put the pace up. Second half got a bit faster. And then we see Trippier had a great game. He's only playing Ipswich. They know they're down and buried. So he's got to put some good crosses in. He had time and plenty of time to put them in. But I was happy to hear the 3 points roll on Sunday, which I'm going to, so I'm looking forward to it.
Good stuff. Okay, Martin. Good evening, mate. Good to see you. Your views of the win over Ipswich?
Yeah, I think the lads have kind of nailed most of it. I thought first half we were kind of a mixed bag. We were a little bit sloppy and a little bit unlucky at the same time. I think the piece for me on the set pieces, I know kind of Trippier seems to take most of them, and it just absolutely baffles me why Tonali doesn't get on the ball, because when he was at Milan and for Italy, he takes all the set pieces. Yeah. And he's really, really good at it. So I don't understand why the lad isn't getting a chance to take at least a handful of set pieces or a couple of corners when we do get the fouls. So I think that's something for me I think we kind of need to look at. I think game-wise, it was one of those games where we probably had more possession than we've had in any of the games this season. We had more possession, but we didn't know what to do with it. And I think a large part of that is our setup from playing out from the back is we just don't have a keeper who's a ball player. And his distribution is piss poor. So what's happening is, and I think it was more evident on Saturday with Joelinton not being in, is Tonali or Guimaraes have to come deeper towards the back four to pick up the ball to then try and go through midfield and play through the lines. So at that point, Ipswich had 8-9 players behind the ball. So we were struggling to put a pass either way. And I think that's, until we change up goalkeepers and we get a new goalkeeper in the summer, hopefully who's a ball player, I think our distribution is hampering our game and our transition. So I think that needs to change in the summer. I thought Ipswich, once it kind of, I agree with the lads. I'm not 100% convinced it was a penalty. I think, George made a good point about the linesman and the ref. I thought they were all poor. The referee took as long to stand at the TV and look at that. Yet his linesman was 2 yards from it on the right-hand side and didn't put up a flag. So it's just look, we've all sat on this panel and whinged all season and last season, but the state of refereeing in the Premier League is getting worse and worse and worse. And it's just not good enough for the game that we've got. And they're talking about bringing in semi-automated offsides and everything else. We're having a hope of actually getting a good consistency of game and ball in play, because none of them have a clue what they're doing. So I think that was also disappointing. Second half, look, Ipswich just ran out of steam. We took control, 10 men. We got the 3 points. But I think I agree with the Isaac thing. The thing that I noticed with him is when he's getting the ball, I think Jeff made a really good point. You can't expect him to hook it in from behind him at a 90-degree angle or, ping off a header, doing 90 miles an hour past him or going 2 yards over his shoulder. But the thing I noticed with him the last few games, and I think, Alan's point and Barry's is probably right about his fitness, he's not taking anybody on. He's not got that ball just outside of that half, kind of that midway point between the front line and the midfielders, like a ball from Tonali or Guimaraes, and gone at a defender. He's not gone down that left-hand side like he did against Everton a couple of seasons ago, where he kind of glides in. And I think there's obviously something hampering him, whether it's a knee or whether it's a thigh or calf injury, but he's definitely not moving as freely as I think he should be. So, look, 3 points. We would have taken it hands down when we were talking the other week. I'm more worried about the game coming up the weekend. Brighton, I'm not confident at all. They played really well against West Ham with a last-minute winner. They are our bogey team. We've not beaten them in a while. So for me, as much as we've got City and Arsenal and then Everton at home, I'm more worried about the Brighton game than I am the other three. Funnily enough, I don't think we'll do. If we play like we did first half on Saturday down in Brighton, I think we could get rolled over. But hopefully we step it up again. I think last piece, I suppose, substitutions. I think bringing on Wilson anymore is an absolute waste of time. He's just treading water. So I'd rather see Osula coming on for that 20 minutes and getting a run out. I think Wilson is done for me. I think Osula came on. I think he looked bright. I'm not like George. I'm not too sure about his dancing. I think Bruno needs to do a bit of work with him on that. But he took his goal really well. I'm pleased for the lad. And I think the other one for me is Willock's got to earn a place because I don't think he's doing jack shit at the minute, and I don't think he deserves his spot in the team. Okay, I get Joe Linton was out, but I would rather have seen Miley in there. I thought Miley looked way better when he came on than Willock did for most of the game. So I think when Eddie's standing, we're talking about possibly Miley moving on, and Eddie comes out saying Miley's pivotable, then why the hell are you putting Willock in then when he's not doing nothing for us? At least put Miley in who can hold the ball and actually look to play forward. So I think a couple of changes maybe for Saturday. Sunday I don't think he will, but they're the couple I'd probably make, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, look, 3 points, we go again. Still in our hands. And as much as I hate to say this, I think it is fair to pay due credit to Liverpool and congratulate them on winning the Premier League. Best team in the league so far this season. So congratulations to them. We stopped you doing the double, so happy with that. But look, to their fans, fair play to you, enjoy it. But congrats to them on winning the league.
Yeah.
That's it.
Great stuff. Kev?
Well, I didn't watch it. I just watched highlights, sorry, because I was working. Busy weekend. But just I agree with the lad, what the lads have said. I said last week, it's the start of a 5-game mini season. And look, we've got 12 more to go, or whatever it is. So it's a positive start. And so, look, 3 points in the Premier League never come easy. They were probably still scrapping and fighting. Obviously, actually, that's what they literally did, scrapping and fought and everything and kicked us all up a height. But, that's what they had to do. I think the introduction of Willock for Joe Linton's an interesting one based on rumours, reports. Not going to get into that because that's, rumours and reports when we don't speculate on here. Just to go on to Martin's point regarding about playing out from the back, if I may. Pope, yes, doesn't do very well with his feet at all. Because if you look at it from his Burnley days, it was just going long into a big strike, a big target man, and that's that. Isak's not that. He can, but it's just not his game. But if you look at it, then he goes. If we play out, it'll go into Trippier, then it'll go back to Pope or go into Shaw immediately. Then Shaw plays that diagonal into Joe Linton to miss out the press. And I think that was obviously evident this past weekend against Ipswich, where we didn't have that big target in between the lines to play everybody to play underneath, then to push up the park. And that's why, like Martin, and I agree with Martin in terms of the Brunos, Tonali's dropping in deep to receive, that just invites pressure, and then they get higher up the field. So that we're kind of played into their hands a little bit from that perspective. But the going down to 10 men playing against a team scrapping and fighting for their Premier League lives, it was inevitable at the end of the day. But I think it was more of a professional performance than the 3 points that we obviously need to get in where we want to be. And we can only play what's in front of us. That's, the old adage of that. So again, we'll just keep moving forward. We'll keep playing the way we play. Yes, it might not have been brilliant and scintillating football, but at the end of the day, you can always win a game 1-0 and you still get the same amount of points. Excuse me. So for me, it's 3 down, 12 more to go, and we'll move on to Brighton. And I agree that Brighton's going to be the more difficult one based on how they play. They've got a bit more pace. We haven't got a very good track record down there, so that's going to be an interesting tactical battle. No disrespect to Jason Tindall, but I think once Eddie Howe gets back into the groove of his working life, I think that's going to be where it's going to be won or lost on the sideline.
Yeah,
who's going to get the tackle?
We'll have a look at that next.
Be interesting. But 3 points. Let's move on. Let's go and beat them, and we'll see what happens further down the road.
Yeah, Magnus, your views on the match at the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I did forecast a 3-0 victory, but I totally thought it would play out slightly different. I was picturing maybe full force in the beginning of the game, and then maybe cruise control right in the second half or later stages of the game. But it was a bit chaotic, and sometimes I feel just like when a team that is higher ranked than you, like when we played PSG, it elevates your level, and I felt like first half. The level was a little bit championship-like, and especially with regards to the referee. But all in all, a professional sort of. Once we got on track, we got on track, and I'd like to single out once again. I mean, I don't know if I even have to, but Sandro Tonali. I mean, absolutely everything he does. He's like a bull. It's like a bullfight. I can see he's got a bit of a reputation now, and people have started pulling out of duels with him because you are not gonna win them. It's just simple as that. And I worry a little bit about the woodwork at St. James's Park, because those shots that he takes, no wonder maybe we have 5 goalkeepers because I heard Eddie Howe was worrying about their wrists. Maybe this is why we have 5 goalkeepers, because someone has to take and be on the other side of those shot practices. And yeah, I'd like to single out Trippier as well. He's showing class. He's showing that he's still one of, if not the best right back in the league. I know it's Ipswich, and we're meant to be winning, but he is still he was on his A game right from the beginning, way before there was any red card. He was out of the blocks, and it was lovely to see. I enjoy very much this crossing game that we are playing. It takes me back a little bit. It's creating a lot of chances, and I think that's a thing of beauty to watch in football, and especially when we score a couple. Then, I mean, I have to give a great praise to William Osula. I mean, he seems like a great character, man. And, I know I've been hearing a little bit of talks that, he might be a little bit sort of out there. But that's because he's Danish, man. The Danes are fun, man. They are outgoing. They are pleasant to be around. And, I hope they are listening, because I have great friendships with the Danes. They are outgoing and friendly, and this is probably why they are so popular in Newcastle, and they have a strong club that we are also talking with. So the Great Dane, I mean, if he's doing anything, if he's improving anything in a similar sort of way as Gordon did and Lewis Hall, then I would like to see him stay with all means, because this is what Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall do. I mean, they take young prospects and nurture them into greatness. And long may it live, and I'm excited to see what happens next.
You usually have a list of people who you could tip Newcastle to sign. Anybody on the horizon, Magnus?
I mean, Orri Óskarsson is still on the top of the list. Somebody asked me on this show who is the next Eidur Johnson, and this is that guy. He's now in Real Sociedad. That would be coming the same way as Alexander Isak, and I think it just sounds great to have a Dane, Swede, and a Icelander in the front line. It would be great.
Is there no big 6'7" goalkeepers in Iceland? Because I'm halfway through the Peter Schmeichel documentary on Sky, and his story's fascinating. How he how he came through the ranks at school and then ended up at Brøndby, and what a story it is. But you forget the colossus that Peter Schmeichel was. And I love there's a little, without spoiling too much of it, he was asked why was he so aggressive as a goalkeeper, and it was because he played John Fashanu early on in his career in England, and he said, I decided that's what I was going to be like as a goalkeeper. Everybody was going to be frightened of me. But what a big lump he was. And there's a lot of big Icelandic guys. Is there any big Icelandic goalkeepers?
Well, I've spoken about him on the show, where we very proudly had our first Premier League start this season at Brentford, and that keeper is only number 2 over there, and I think he's got a very bright future. He's got great distribution. He absolutely catches everything, and right now he's at Brighton, number 2, and his name is Hákon Valdimarsson. He's Iceland number 1, and he is huge, aggressive. Keep an eye on this guy. I think he's got a great future. And if we are gonna be offloading some keepers, I guess, then you would definitely have a great potential there. He is aggressive, but we just haven't seen enough of him. But very, very proudly, he was the first ever Icelander to start a Premier League game this season.
Yeah. What was the name again?
His name is Hákon Valdimarsson.
Way too many.
Kevin, you should know, man. You're linked with Brentford, man.
Canute was quite good. He even stopped the waves.
Hey, there we go. Pablo, good evening. Your views on the Ipswich game?
I'm going to continue with the goalkeeper theme. If the club want to pay me 40 grand a week like John Ruddy, I'll stand there all day long and take shots from Sandro. Not a problem. In fact, I'll do it for 30. John Ruddy's got the best job, surely, ever in the world.
Him and Gillespie, yeah.
Him and Gillespie, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, what a cracking job. Game-wise, the lads have pretty smashed it, really. What I would say is before, what a good set of fans, Ipswich, and what a beautiful day it was kind of to see both clubs come together and celebrate a common cause, which is Sir Bobby. And I think when you see 2 teams do that, it kind of puts football in perspective. We're all part of, to use that cliche, one big family. But when you're united by one special man like that, it's quite a sight to see. Also, as well, obviously Eddie being back, phenomenal. A lot of his interviews I was listening into, he seems as if he's been humbled somewhat, and probably given him a little bit more focus. I'm sure you guys have seen it. I was really tuned into what he was saying, having been through some of it myself. He come across really well, and I think that come across onto the pitch. When we go on to Ipswich, I think Ipswich put up a good fight, as in the first half, and it was a fight. But I think they are very much championship level. Let's be totally honest. I mean, some of the decision making from the Ipswich players, certainly the guy, with the yellow card. And I actually think the yellow card, which he got first off, where Dan Burn kind of clumsily stretches his body across, we've seen them kind of penalties given. So I don't know what you guys think, but I think he could have got away with that one. Do you know what? We could have had a penalty against us. Thankfully, we didn't. I think the first half, there was a lot of huffing and puffing. I think there was a lot of nerves from the Villa game in the sense of to kind of redress that performance and show the energy. I think we did show the energy. However, the quality wasn't coming, certainly within the kind of the crossing and the channels. And the lads are right. Isak doesn't seem his kind of potent self. He doesn't seem to be finding that half a yard or the positions that he would find himself in using. Now, whether that's down to injury, whether it's down to mental fatigue, whatever you want to call it, but it was evident. And for me, at times in that first half, I thought, oh my God, is it going to be one of them days where we up and puff and chuck everything at him? Because everything was coming off him. It was coming off elbows, heads, free kicks, tugs here and there. Thankfully, obviously, the quality shone through. Fantastic to see Dan Burn, like you've mentioned. And I think with the point, what we mentioned with Asula before, is he going to make it? Well, he maybe is or he maybe isn't. But at the end of the day, he's a guy on the bench. We're going to need a group of 25 players, and they're not all going to go on to be world class. They're not all going to go on to be an Isak. So people like Asula, with his attitude, his enthusiasm, what I'm trying to say is give me an Asula over a Wilson any day of the week, because I've watched Wilson a couple of times, certainly live recently, and that boy's legs, unfortunately, have gone. There's just no movement. There's no real endeavour. There's no pace. There's no nothing. So that's where we are as a club. We're going to have people like Asula who might turn out to be the next big thing. But he's probably going to be a squad player. So I think putting too much pressure on him to say, is he going to make it? He just is what he is. He's there on the bench to do a job when we need him. And if he does, great. If he doesn't, it's just one of them, innit? But yeah, overall, lads, a really good workman-like performance. Not the best, not scintillating. We didn't tear him apart like we did Palace. But yeah, on to the next. There's going to be some big games coming up. And I think the pressure was to get Ipswich beaten, because that's the one we should beat.
Yeah. Okay. Pablo, I'm going to give you first dabs because you've waited until the end on the Brighton game. It's our penultimate Premier League away game of the season, and it is on Sunday at 2:00. Kicks off at the Amex. Live on Sky Sports, 3,000 hardy souls, including Daz, will be making the journey down there. And forwarding tickets, well, that can be done from 2 p.m. on Thursday until 9 a.m. on match day. This will be Newcastle's 8th attempt at winning a Premier League fixture at Brighton, having drawn 4 and lost the other 3 of their previous 7 visits. The only victory in 10 league and cup matches at the Amex came during the 2016-2017 Championship season. The Seagulls are bidding for winning a treble against Newcastle this season after a 1-0 Premier League win and a 2-1 FA Cup win, both on Tyneside. Team news, well, it's a bit early, but we know that Lewis Hall and Jamal Lascelles will not feature in the game. The extent of the Joelinton knee injury hasn't been reported on yet. There's some unconfirmed reports that he could be out for the rest of the season. Let's wait till Eddie Howe and Newcastle United come out with something with regards to that. Matt Targett is injured and wasn't in the squad last Saturday. No confirmation as to what that was all about. Jason Tindall will serve a 1-game touchline suspension for this game following a 3rd caution of the season during the weekend's game against Ipswich. As for the home team, well, João Pedro remains suspended following a straight red card against Brentford. And ahead of our visit, Brighton beat West Ham 3-2 at home on Saturday to end a winless run of 5 Premier League games. Referee and VAR yet to be confirmed. So, Pablo, this is a tricky game. I've just read the stats out there, and Newcastle have struggled at Brighton. And it's a bit of a bogey team because they've got a habit of coming up to St James's and getting something as well, which they've proved not once but twice this season. So this, I think, as Martin quite rightly said earlier, is the game I looked at and said, oof, that's a tough one. We needed to beat Ipswich to give ourselves that 3 points. What's your feelings about this one at the weekend? And I'll give you my opinion. I don't often talk my opinion. I just think, I watched them intently in the game at the weekend, and these, as long as Isak's got his shooting boots on, Newcastle can get something out of this game.
Yeah. Listen, we can always get something out of a game, as we've proved multiple times this season. So you're right in that. We can get something out of this game. I share the same view as you, Steve. As soon as Brighton's mentioned in any conversation, I kind of get the jitters. It's one of them, and it's going to be a toss of a coin. I can't sit here and tell you that I'm confident we're going to win, but then I can't sit here and say we're going to get beat. It's going to be 50-50. I'll be meeting Daz on the M25, so I'll gauge his reaction and how his mood is. And if Daz turns up in a good mood, then I'll say we're going to win. But yeah, being serious, but if I'm being totally honest, I think we're probably looking at a draw. And looking at it, I think I'd be happy with that. I know it doesn't necessarily give us the 3 points to crack on, but I'd rather take a draw or hope for a draw than come away with bugger all and have the kind of confidence dented. I think the players will take a confidence from grabbing a draw at the Amex. So I'm going to go with that.
Okay, Alan, come to you, mate.
It's a tough one, lads, isn't it? But I've just got the feeling we're due a win against them. You know, it comes a point where you've got to get your head around it and get stuck in. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win, but I totally agree with you, Steve. It depends on Isaac. And we control the game, Steve, because last year we got absolutely, they done a villain with, like it happened 2 weeks ago, where they cut through our lines and absolutely mullered with and beat with 3-0, and it could have been a lot worse. So I'm praying that we learn from our mistakes, because it's when we lose possession that we're the worst. We're at our worst. And with Joe Linton probably not playing, that's going to be a massive loss. But hand in heart, I'm going to go for a change, and I think we'll win 2-1. But it's going to be a very nervy and a very up and down game where we're going to be biting our nails. So I'm going 2-1 win.
Yeah, these do look dodgy at the back. You know, that they're a dangerous outfit up front. You know, going forward, they can catch us unawares. I think that's for definite. But at the back, yeah, they do concede goals. Magnus, feelings about this game against Brighton at the weekend? A potential banana skin, I think most of us are feeling.
Yeah, I am. This doesn't happen a lot, but I am feeling very similar. I mean, we are right on track to get the 25 points from the last 10, even with a draw. And I can still picture 10 points from the last 4 games. And this is the one that will lose points, I think. I am picturing 2-2, and it's mostly based on their very pacey attack and our lack of pace in defense. And however, everybody's on the A game. I picture us. It's actually going to be quite an exciting game because they leave a lot of space also at the back. So I think it's going to be a good game, and I think we would be happy with a point there. To be honest, and I accept the point. I think a draw 2-2 for me.
Okay, Kev.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think the tactical battle is going to be fascinating because if we high press and stop them playing through lines, or if we in their final third, and Brighton, as we know, are pretty good. Well, very good on the counter attack, and if they break that press, I think it could be a very long afternoon. I don't think we should go to a man-to-man. I think we should play in the mid not low blocks, but mid-ish block in the middle third. Control that. You know, again, it all depends on the midfield. Who's you going to put in the midfield 3? Because that's ultimately where the game's won or lost. Yes, you got the centre forwards and all the rest who score goals, but you know, that's your engine room that determines and dictates how games are won and lost.
Do you think he'd play 5 at the back, Kev? Do you think he'd play 5 in that sense?
He could. Well, yes, but he could go as a 3, essentially. Yes, and drop into a 5 when we lose the ball because of the pace of the wide men, etc. Yeah, he could do and overload that part of it. But you know, Eddie's not going to do that unless it's a top level side, and we're going to have to sit in. But I don't think we'll sit in that deep, to be honest. I think it'll be top end of the middle third into the top end of the final third, where we'll just sit there and press when we need to press and be clever with that. Because as we know, Brighton probably like to just play through lines and get bodies forward with Minton if he plays. The Japanese lad on the other side, who's not bad, you know, on the other, he's got a bit of pace about him. But long as Danny Welbeck doesn't score, I'll be rather happy because he's another thorn in our side. So I'll going all the way from that, from kind of sort of the tactical side. I would quite happily take a draw, but I think we might sneak 1-0, a little smash and grab down there.
Okay, Martin.
Yeah, I think Kev kind of hits the nail on the head. Really, I think it's who is going to come up with the right tactics. I think the likes of playing the 3 at the back and kind of dropping that into a 5. I don't think Howe does that until we play City and Arsenal. In my view, you know, the home game against Everton, I think we'll play a normal way. Brighton, is a tricky one for me. The one thing I do know is I'll be sticking a tenner on Welbeck to score, because you can guarantee that little shite bag's going to score, if anybody. So I'd take a point today. I think it's. I said it when I was talking before. I think it's the toughest game we've got. They start really well, and the last two games we've been undone has been quick goals, and we've got caught cold. So I think depending on how we start, if we're not up for it and they start well at home, then it could be a tricky old afternoon. The lad that scored at the weekend, there's two that I like. Your man Belaber, I think it is, and Aria played really well against West Ham. Your man Aria's goal was well constructed. They passed well. So I think it'll be a tricky game. I think it'll be the toughest game we've got in the last kind of four that we've got. Are we capable of winning? Absolutely. But I think it's definitely going to have goals in it, but I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Okay, Darren.
Hello. Long we don't concede in the first 10 minutes. If we concede in the first 10 minutes, it's not going to be a good day. I'm looking forward to the game. We are capable of winning. So Pablo and his old mate is on a hat-trick to the away game. So these people won 3-1 and 3-0, I believe. So we've got a good record going away. So we are capable of beating them. But I think it'll be a draw. I just dread to think if they score in the first 10 minutes, it's going to be not a great afternoon for us coming back. So I think it'll be, quite the most quiet car coming back. It'll be already going down by Alpha and Batman and going down with the weekend. The right back's going to be very quiet.
All right, so you've gone for a draw, Barry.
Yeah.
I think this is the time for the players to stand up for the club. I think we owe them big time. I would hate to see us get beat 3 times in one season off a Mickey Mouse club like Brighton. I think on our day, like George says, we can beat anybody on our day. The players need to believe this is the time to put it all together. We've had a great season. We've won a trophy. Now we need to cement a place in the Champions League. This is what we need to do. And I totally agree. I think the Man City, the other games after this will be hard. Brighton, for me, is our bully team, and we really owe them one. I want to see the lads go out there, and I think they can win it 2-0. I think they've got to turn up. I know missing Joe Linton's going to be a big thing because he's such a huge part of our team. But they're beatable. I don't see why we can't go down there and beat them. We've done it against much better teams than them this season. Howe just needs to learn from the previous 2 games and come up with something that can counteract them. Like Kev says, it's going to be played in the midfield. That's where it's going to be decided. We've still got 2 of the best midfielders in the Premier League playing in our team, as been this season. We need to teach them one. And I think hopefully the weekend will do it. Like the guys have said, Pablo and Darren, I'm relying on them to bring them a bit of luck when they go down there. So I'm hoping for a 2-0 win to Steve.
Okay, 2-0 win. Confident from Baz. What about you, Jeff?
Well, last week I got it right. I got 3-0.
You did.
You did. Yeah. Very stressful for the last 20 minutes. Oh my God, they could score, and I won't be a genius anymore. I think we should win. I'm not that bothered. My instincts is like 2-1. They might score. Danny Welbeck. But yeah, I think we should score, and I think. With the benefit of hindsight, we're often very good at saying, "Oh, Willock didn't have a good game" or whatever. But that's the benefit of hindsight, having watched the game. And in terms of Eddie Howe, he has to set off putting out his best team, what he imagines to be his best team, and he's very loyal to his team. And there's a pecking order, and I think he respects that. And Miley will get his turn, and we're going to win.
Okay, that's good enough for me, Jeff. Another win. George, what about you? We'll get a prediction off you as well, mate.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to the game. They are a bit of a bogey for us, but I'm not too worried about it today. Can I just give a shout out to my lunch colleagues? What you lads don't know is I nearly missed this because a group of naval architects from Turkey are over and they took me out to lunch today with a nice turkey meze. And after lunch, once the contracts were signed for what they want to do, I had my ear bent for a young man called Darren Yildiz, who signed for Newcastle from Turkey yesterday or the day before. And a number of times I was told to ring Eddie Howe and tell him they put Darren Yildiz in the midfield. I'm sure it was the brandy and whatever else they were drinking, talking. But I give a shout out to them because I know they're all watching this. So, and they're Newcastle daft, even though they're from Turkey. So, Brighton 2-0 is how I think, and the star will be Tonali. I think he'll score one of the goals, and the other one will be an Isaac goal. So there's not just a prediction, but the scorers as well, and it'll set off for the rest of the season.
Great stuff. Fantastic show as always. Big thank you to Martin, Kevin, Magnus, Pablo, Alan, Darren, Baza, Jeff, and George for giving us the time. Thanks to all the moderators. And thanks to everybody in the chat. See you tomorrow. Talk of the tune, 6 o'clock.
Good luck,
everyone.
Thanks to all our sponsors. Skips and Bins. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. Their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel, UK Coach Holidays. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2 crew, driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels, no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. A big thanks to Media Arts for all the technical side of things. And if you want to listen to us as a podcast, you can find us on Sport Social Podcast Network. We're also available on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. If you want to support the channel, then hit the subscribe button. We still do 7 shows a week. Hit the like button, which is the thumb underneath this video, and click share to your social media. You can also take out a monthly membership or an annual membership at nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. For the lifetime membership, you can pay £25 and get a pen, a beer mat, a fridge magnet, a badge and a keyring and your membership card and entry into the monthly draw. Some events coming up, 27th of June 2025, the end of season party. Beresford, Howie and Watson will be at the Tyneside Irish Centre with Joe Allen in aid of North Tyneside Age UK. You can get your tickets for that one from nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk or from Woucher. No Covers takes place at the Clooney. That's on the 29th of June, midday till 3:45, and tickets are £10 from theclooney.com or newcastlelegends.com. Northern Horizon, a Blake 7 convention, takes place on the 9th of August, 10 till 4 at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Come and meet some of the cast and crew in aid of Age UK North Tyneside Dementia. Tickets from nufcmatters.co.uk. An evening with Peter Beardsley and Chris Waddle takes place on Friday the 23rd of January 2026 at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. You can get tickets from the box office 0844 249 1000 or from tynetheatreandoperahouse.uk. And Bad Manners are back in the Northeast at the O2 City Hall, Friday the 30th of January 2026. Tickets from ticketmaster.co.uk. And we have copies of The Entertainer's book, signed by Les Ferdinand, available from nufcmatters.co.uk.